All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 29th ever episode. 29th, we're almost at 30. The 29th ever episode of the Failing to Success in Multifamily Show, a podcast where we appreciate, discuss, and reflect on the setbacks real estate investors have had leading up to their success. I have a very special guest for you guys today. His name is Brian Walsh. Now, it is an absolute honor to have Brian on as a guest. Now, the reason why I love Brian as our guest today is because Brian is able to bring in a new perspective that we really haven't had up to this point. His expertise is in property management, asset management, and construction within assets that he acquires with himself and his team. Brian Walsh is the president and founder of the Progressive Properties of Greenville, LLC, which is a full-service residential property management company. And today, he is going to speak to us about his acquisitions. He first founded his company in 2009, and he's been operating in the Greenville market for over 13 years now. Currently manages over 440 single-family and multifamily units, providing a range of services, including full unit renovations. Brian is also an active real estate investor focused on multifamily value-add properties. Now, Brian is an absolute rock star. He's currently a co-sponsor and general partner on four multifamily syndications in Greenville, South Carolina, totaling 366 units. Now, he leverages his background in construction and maintenance paired with his expertise of the Greenville market to help his large network of investors achieve and exceed their real estate goals. Now, I'm sure that behind all his success is sacrifice, dedication, and a whole lot of hard work. So I can't wait for you all to hear his journey, his successes, but most of all, and the reason why we're all here today, his failures as he continues to reach his goals within multifamily. Brian, welcome to the show, my friend.
All right. Well, thanks, Tinny. Thanks for the great introduction. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on the podcast today. Thank you.
My pleasure, and it is an absolute honor because I know that you're really, really busy. So thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll just jump right in. First of all, I think I did a pretty poor job at describing who you are. So
no, I think you made me sound a lot better than I am. Yeah.
I think I should have added within that introduction, Brian is also really humble.
Yeah.
But Brian, please let us know who Brian Walsh is, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you gave a kind of a description of like who I am, who I am now and what we do now. But kind of a quick backstory. I grew up in Warwick, Rhode Island. I currently live in Greenville, South Carolina. I moved here, it was like 15 or 16 years ago now. Moved down here, met my wife, have two daughters. And then about 13 years ago, so prior to when I first moved down here and for a long time before that, I'm actually a plumber by trade. So that's what my professional training in is. I never went to college. I was a licensed plumber for a long time. I hope most of my adult life. Then I moved down here, met my wife, had my first daughter, and really kind of how I started on this journey was I just really had kind of like been interested in flipping houses. So my journey over the last 13 years has been pretty interesting and has taken a lot of twists and turns. It definitely 13 years ago, the last thing on my mind was buying an apartment complex. That's for sure. That was not even remotely on my radar. But the quick version is the quickest I can be of the version of the story of how this all unfolded is I was a plumber. I wanted to flip houses just to generate some extra income. I had just had a child, and I'm like, geez, I could use some extra money, and thought it would be fun. I'd been a plumber for a long time and in the construction industry, so I was really comfortable with remodeling and that type of thing. So over the next few years, ended up flipping a couple of houses, ended up not flipping a couple of houses that turned into rentals. Fast forward a little bit, that turned into a friend of mine asking me to manage his properties, which turned into me ended up going and getting my property management license and starting a property management company. And I've been doing that for a long time now. The company slowly built up over time. Meanwhile, as I was doing the property management, I mean, I've done a bunch of wholesaling over the years, lease options, fix and flips. I mean, I've to this day, I'll still do a fix and flip. I did a few last year, and all simultaneously building the management company. And then really when I got into multifamily, it was only just about 2 years ago. Actually, about 2 years ago this month, kind of, is when I think first signed a contract to buy the first property. And
wow.
yeah, so it's only been about 2 years since I get into multifamily. I've been really just focused on single families for years and years and years, and had like a certain level of success with those, and was kind of happy with what I was doing. And a client that I managed property for / friend reached out to me and said that he had been really digging into multifamilies, properties, specifically syndications. And he's like, hey, this is kind of like a team sport, and I have, this set of skills, but I would really need you and what you bring to the table. And I think we'd be, great partners. And, it took me a few months to kind of, in a few conversations of him convincing me to do it, because I have no partners in my business whatsoever and never have. And I was happy with what I was doing, and but also extremely intrigued with the multifamily property. So my partner, I think, has been a guest on your podcast before. His name's Arn Senadella, and
Rock star.
yeah, amazing. He's an extremely intelligent guy, and
Yep.
and I mean, the fact that the truth of the matter is, I barely knew anything about syndications 2 years ago. I didn't know what a PPM was, a waterfall. I mean, none of it. He had to really walk me through every single bit of it. I mean, the first deal was such a unbelievably gigantic learning curve. It wasn't even funny.
I like
I
that.
knew what I knew. I knew how to project rent rates and estimate remodels, and I know our market extremely well. But I didn't know the rest of it, and I was fortunate enough to have a great mentor and partner at the same time, and learn while I earn. And
Yeah.
so so yeah,
Right.
so that's kind of how I got to this point.
I like that.
And yeah, and then in the last couple of years, as you had mentioned, we've now closed on 4 different deals, altogether totaling 366 units. So pretty
Whew.
exciting.
Oh my God. A lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
But I mean, a couple things that I want to you know, point, right? As you're explaining your story. First of all, your grit and determination, to go from a full-time plumber to managing 400 units as a property manager. Oh, I'm sorry, to fixing and flipping properties, to managing 400 units, building a business as a property management company. I mean, that's tough on its own, right? People spend a lifetime doing that. But now to acquiring multifamily with a team, I mean, that just shows to me your clear vision and your ambition and your grit and grind. I mean, that's frankly, like, not a lot of people have that. I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. So kudos to you there. And Arn says that you are such a valuable member of his team. And frankly, like, he told me that you are the person who keeps the boat alive, right? So he speaks highly of you too. So I absolutely love the partnership that you and Arn have, because you're right. At the end of the day, maybe you don't need to know everything about the business. You obviously need to know what's going on, but it's who, not how, right? Find the people that you are able to leverage their skills in order to essentially grow together, right? And I love how you two came together. I absolutely love it. Now, Brian, I want to take it back briefly, right? Because a lot of individuals would have been happy with where you had gotten, right? You were a full-time plumber. You realized that you needed to generate additional income. Then you got into fixing and flipping. That's great. Now you took it a step further. You built a property management company. Why didn't you just stop there? Why did you want to officially become a multifamily investor, right? Why did you see that as a path for you?
Yeah, well, the truth of the matter is I've had the same goal for 13 years, and that's I you know the goal has changed, but the vision really hasn't, like and really it's I want to get to a point where I can live 100% passively off of rental properties, right? Off of, and that was the path that I was on for a long time, and still am on. And over the years, I had a certain number when I started, like, all right, I want to generate X amount of dollars a year in passive income, right? And what's it going to take? How many properties is that? Is it 20, 40, 50, right? Well, the number was a lot smaller a long time ago. And I hit that original goal a while ago. And then, I'm young. I love what I'm doing. And, so I move the goalpost a little bit,
Yeah.
And that's really what it kind of boils down to. Just I mean, what are you going to do? Stop and retire?
Yeah.
In your mid 40s. I love what I'm doing. I definitely like, you hit one goal and then you move the goalpost a little bit, and you want to go a little bit further.
100%.
And
100%.
so that's part of it for me. And again, I mean, I love everything I'm doing. I really like have a blast with it. I love real estate. I love everything about it. I like truly enjoy what I do for a living.
I like that.
And I love that, it's unbelievable. Like the opportunities that multifamily bring to the table versus the single family. And, really the, what's the term, like the velocity of money and the economies of scale and everything. So that was really attractive to me. So yeah, that's kind of what really attracted me to get into it, to kind of like, to challenge myself. I kind of got bored a little bit too.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like, all right, yeah, go flip another house or buy another rental. And it kind of got, after a while it gets, you do the same thing over and over again. It got a little boring and not quite challenging. And, I wasn't too stressed out anymore, and I hated more stress in my life. So I, figured I'd try something new. So
gotta keep the blood pumping. What I'm saying?
I was just ready for the next thing, the next challenge, And again, I mean, I kind of felt like I had single families down pat at that point. And man, then it's kind of cool to start over from scratch with something new. And I had to with the I'm still learning. I mean, I still have so much to learn in regards to the multifamily space. I mean, there's so much out there. But again, Aaron's been a great partner, and he's, been able to help guide me through everything. And he's fantastic at explaining everything and making it, simplifying it. So.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. And one of the things that I want to point out before we jump on to the next segment of our conversation here is your why. You mentioned very briefly that the beginning of your path that got you into real estate was really for not yourself, but for your family, right? For your kids. That's so important, right? Because a lot of people just get into the business for money, right? Like they want all the nice things, they want the cars, the planes, but you really did it to provide for your kids, for your family. Like that's a big why. And I see how that has propelled you to your success now. And that's, it's like you mentioned that very briefly, but that's a very important part of your story that got you started in real estate as a whole. So I just want to point that out. Part of being successful as you have been is really having a deep why and a deep meaning. And then that propels you to enjoying what you're doing fully, right? And do it well. But as you know, multifamily, it's hard to break into. And you had mentioned to me in our first conversation that you were able to build a network of individuals, right? From your clients, from your colleagues, from your friends and family that were a key piece into getting you into your first multifamily deal. talk about that very briefly. How was the transition, right, from the day-to-day property management to actually getting into your first deal? How did that look like? Who did you have to connect with? Things like that.
Sure. So obviously a big part of multifamily syndications is the capital raising, right? And again, this wasn't even on my radar until 2 years ago, but unbeknownst to myself, I had been building up this network and building relationships with all my clients for all these years, right? So I have been in business for a long time. I borrowed, a fair amount of money from private lenders over the years. So I did have a couple of lenders that I had borrowed money from over the years that I knew that they'd most likely invest with me. But I had never gone out and tried to raise. I think our first capital raise was like $1.5 million, and I've never tried to raise that much money at one time. And but again, I think it just kind of speaks to like, hey, listen, if you're in business for a long time, whether it's business or personal, and you have good relationships with people and you've built up a good reputation, when the time comes when it's like, hey, I have this opportunity, let me talk to you about it. We're going to raise some money. And we built up trust over the years. So actually, ironically, the capital raise was I had to learn what it was and how it works and explain the waterfall to everybody and all that. And but as far as like picking up the phone and calling people and saying, hey, I have an opportunity, would you like to invest with me? That part actually went extremely easy. And it was actually like raised way better than I thought it was going to, because, literally I had some of our clients that we managed property for years. And obviously like they knew what we could do. My management company could do, because we've been, they've been our client for years. And they're like, hey, great property manager. Yep. You're the right guy. You can do this. And so that went really well.
I like that a lot.
It's just like, right. Nothing big or earth shattering, but maybe just like doing the small things right for a long period of time and establishing good relationships and, doing what you say you're going to do is so important, right? In any business or just in, life in general. So,
well said, man. Well said. Just like you mentioned, capital is a key component of these multifamily assets, right? Acquiring these multifamily assets takes a lot of capital. So one, it takes relationships, and the other, you can get in it with sweat equity, which is frankly how I've been getting into it. But most of the time it takes relationships, it takes a track record, which you had, right? You were building the business first and foremost, but you're also building your track record, and you were also, strengthening those relationships. And frankly, man, I have had, I think my previous 2 episodes that I've released have been from syndicators, and they had talked about, failed capital raising, like their experience not being able to raise the capital. So this can go both ways, right? Like you can either be really, really good at doing so, just like you were, or you can completely fail at raising the capital. And most of the things that they mentioned as to why they weren't able to raise the capital was because they didn't have a strong track record or a strong relationship with their LPs. So it's amazing to hear from you how you were able to find success in that, but you also put in the work to get there, So I love that. Man.
No, I would imagine it'd be extremely difficult. Like if you just were starting from scratch and day one and get into multifamily, and I get, all right, how do you just like build a network out of thin air and start? That'd be extremely challenging. And again, kind of funny. It was like, I guess at one point I kind of thought to myself like, oh geez, this is funny. It's like, I had no idea I've been like prepping for this for all these years, but apparently I had been, so it worked out good.
Yeah. Some people may call you lucky, but I call you prepared. So love it. Man, let's jump into a deal, right? I want to get into a specific deal, multifamily deal. Now, it doesn't have to be from a syndication. It can be from a property management side, right? But I just want to hear about the biggest challenge that you faced so far and how you were able to overcome it, right? How were you able to overcome it? And most of all, lessons learned.
Yeah, definitely there's, again, I think I did, prior to our podcast, we had kind of talked and knock on wood, we haven't had a major catastrophe in one of our we're we're still young, and hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon. But there's definitely always challenges. I mean, even when things go smoothly, there's challenges. And one of the multifamily deals that we bought, again, like obviously before we bought it, a big part of what we're going to do is we're going to do a deep dive into the repair costs and estimating rent rates, and all that's really important to help us come up with our assumptions and our projections, right? And one of them, for instance, like we kind of missed a glaring repair that was kind of a no-brainer. It was simply to paint the building, right? Like we had all this money budgeted for the interior remodels and a bunch of subfloor work that needed to be done and some other stuff on the exterior. But then when we got over there, we kind of like very quickly realized, geez, if we're going to really achieve these rent premiums that we have projected here, the building was just dated looking on the outside. Like we're going to have to paint this thing,
Yeah.
Well, it was like almost, I think it was maybe $25,000-$30,000, right? Like to, repaint it and put on lights. So, it wasn't, well, I don't know if you consider it a failure or not, but it was definitely an oversight, right? Like we definitely missed that when we were doing due diligence. We should have figured in for that, and we didn't. So then we kind of had to stop and shuffle. Luckily we had a very large capex budget,
Nice.
and Arn and I are both extremely conservative and
like that.
really, and we both own single family rentals as well, and we're both advocates of large reserves.
Yeah.
And again, if anything I've learned over the years of owning a management company is like, I mean, things could be going great for 5 years, and then next thing you know, you need to put a roof and an HVAC system in a house and within 6 months, and that's $10,000-$12,000 gone. So luckily we did have the extra money raised, and we kind of shuffled around things. So that would be an example. Right there,
Well said.
things along that line.
Well said. Well said. And man, you're absolutely correct. Like, as somebody who got into multifamily last year, frankly, with my first deal, I have like oversight is especially when it comes to capex, is something that I'm learning not to do. And it's so great to hear how conservative you are in your underwriting, right? Because that's great for an LP, right? Knowing that their capital is secure with you, because you're able to foresee these potential repairs come up. And you're right, like there are some things that you can underwrite for, top to bottom, but things will happen. Like there's always repairs, there's always unexpected. So having those reserves is so key, ahead of tackling a deal, really being conservative in your approach. And it's so great that you had the funds for it, and you were able to pivot, to really enlighten the property. Because, man, you're right. Like a building can be so bad on the inside, but as long as the outside looks good, frankly, like you can like retain your tenants, but you can also get more in, right? Just because, from my experience, the outside sometimes is more important than the inside, if you think about it. But that's just me.
I agree. I think the outside is extremely important as well. And it really is. Curb appeal is a big deal. I mean, if you can't even, if you're driving by a property and it just looks horrible from the outside, you're not even going to get anyone to come inside and take a look.
Exactly.
You don't even shot. So and again, actually, I'll give On the credit, because he was the one that pushed on the paint, because I was like, hey, we didn't budget for this, we're not going to do it. And he was like, I really think that. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And we did it. And I mean, the place looks 10 times better.
I like that.
I was trying to stick to the budget and not do it, but he was like, I really think we should. And I'm like, all right, well, let's do it, And, we did, and it made the hugest difference. I mean, literally, actually, we were out there. I have like an in-house maintenance team. So my guys were doing the painting, we were doing it. So I was out there one day checking on it. And actually, we literally that one day, I think we had 3 different tenants come up to me and be like, oh, thank you so much. It looks so much better. It looks so dated here. And so, I mean, like instant positive feedback from the
Yeah.
tenants living, so it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing, both from a resident morale, but also to limit those turnovers. And frankly, turnover, as you know, in real estate, especially multifamily, can really make or break a deal. So I'm really happy that both you and I were able to pivot when you needed to. Man, great lesson here. Let's jump into the mindset, right? Because as we've come to find out, or we haven't really, gotten an idea of your mindset, but I can tell from your story, right, from the past 13 years, man, it takes a lot to get to where you are, and you don't get here by, not having the right mindset. And as a property manager, especially like the business owner, right, you need a lot of patience. So, but all jokes aside, Brian, I would like to, get a deep dive into your mindset. And one of my questions for you is, how do you keep yourself motivated to get through the challenges that you may encounter, either, before closing a deal or during your day-to-day as both a syndicator and a business owner?
Yeah, I mean, it's listen, there's a lot of great days and there's a lot of bad days too. There's a ton of stress. I had no gray hair when I started doing all this stuff. I mean, it's definitely been challenging, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the last 13 years, a lot of challenges, even like figuring out the personal side of it. I mean, I'm married and I have 2 kids and was working a million hours for a few years, and that wasn't sitting well, obviously, with my wife, and that was a challenge. And so even figuring out, working through that, right? But I think the key is just being patient. I've read so many books and listened to so many podcasts and so many YouTube videos. It's not even funny. And, I'm definitely motivated not to fail or to keep going. I'm a persistent person by nature. Like, I'm not going to give up, and I mean, there were days over the years. I mean, I'd have something happen, especially with the management company. I mean, you name it, we deal with it. I mean, everything you could possibly imagine, people passing away. I've had cars drive through houses, like a house shot at, I mean, you just name it, like it's happened. And like literally a drive-by shooting at a house, and just trees fall through houses, everything you can think of, fires. So I mean, I've sat there sometimes where I get a phone call about, this happened or that, and like literally hang up the phone, but like, oh my God, like what the heck am I gonna do? And you figure it out, and then over the years, I kind of eventually got to the point where I was like, when no matter what came in, it didn't phase me anymore. And I'm like, I would sometimes tell myself, like, all right, man, you made it, all right, you made it 10 years, you figured out every single possible thing that's happened in the last 10 years. You'll figure this out too. And then, you go figure it out,
I love that.
You don't know the answer. I don't know. Google it, call someone else that knows, ask an expert, you just got to stick with it,
Yeah.
Same thing, when it relates to the multifamily properties and the syndication. I mean, frankly, like, the underwriting can get pretty complex. I am by no means any kind of expert underwriter, but again, like, shoot, on our first deal, we hired someone to help us do it, like, hey, this is the information we have, and can you help us do this underwriting, so there's a workaround for everything, so if you're persistent and, don't give up, there's going to be a million challenges along the way. And, there's always a way out, there's always a solution,
Absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And
motivated, and, I get up
yeah,
and work out or run every morning too. And that helps me,
clear your mind.
Right. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And you didn't even have to, like, I knew this basically just from you explaining your story. Like if you know what it takes to really be successful and do everything that you've been doing, that you have had to go through so many different hurdles. And that just tells me exactly how strong of a mindset you have. But I definitely appreciate you unpacking it the way you did, because that allows our listeners to understand that man, this is not easy. This is not easy. You have to be persistent. You have to have a strong gut, but most of all, you have to have the right people around you, right? Because frankly, you don't need to have everything figured out, but if you know and have the right pieces around you, it makes overcoming these challenges a lot easier. So thank you so much, Brian, for unpacking that for us. And man, I have really enjoyed our conversation here. Man, you are an absolute rock star, a humble rock star. And I love that. Love it, love it. So let's dive into the final questions here. And really, Brian, these questions are tailored to highlight you, right? And to really give more exposure about what you're doing and how our listeners and future listeners can assist you in scaling. So would love to know what your goals are for the rest of the year, 2023. What do you have in store? What are you cooking?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, this year I definitely would like to. I don't necessarily have a definitive number of doors that I'm looking to, but I would like to definitely close a couple of more sizable multifamily deals. I roughly somewhere between like 50 and 100 doors I'd be happy with, a couple more deals. We actually signed a contract the other day on one, so knock on wood, if that gets through due diligence, we'll have another one there.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's definitely, that's one goal. Again, like to, another one or two deals this year would be great. I'm not trying to buy 1,000 doors in the next 24 months. This just
sounds like you will, though. Sounds like you will.
We'll see. I'm more of like a slow and steady type of guy, and again, I'm just not gonna. In the years past, I've put myself in the position where I like have to work, literally 60, 70 hours a week for months on end, and frankly, I'm not gonna do that again. So I'm gonna manage my workload a little better these days. Doing that, obviously, definitely. And the other big part of it is like not taking your eye off the ball, meaning like we've already have assets that we've closed that we're managing currently, right? So like, you can't forget about those, right? So we're still, one of them's like a couple of them are like doing very, very settled and doing well, but there's one of them we're still actively doing some of the CapEx work. We're doing some interior. We're going to start 3 interior renovations next week. So, never letting your eye off the ball, so that's always a focus of mine every year,
Love that.
Same thing with my management company, right? I actively own and manage that company still. I'm in the office every day. So those are my main focuses this year, and then to continue to learn and network a little more. I'm not a big networker naturally, so I signed up for a conference in June that I'll go to, and keep networking and meeting more people and just learn more about syndications and try to be, just keep educating myself.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you, man. Like you are very, very busy. So frankly, I wouldn't have time to network if I was running so many different businesses as you were, or as you are. But I love the fact that you surround yourself with great team members. And frankly, team members is what we need to not only scale, as you know, but also to, take a more of a back seat, right, into the day-to-day operation. So with that, I have a sizable amount of listeners. What is one thing or one person that would help you in your business right now?
I mean, I again, obviously, I have a great partner in Arn. I mean, we're always open to additional like capital raisers, like for bigger deals, right? If anyone has any opportunities that they know about in Greenville, we're certainly open to partnering with other people too. It's not just been Arn and I for every single deal. We have other partners that we've brought in on in particular with pretty large deal we did last year. There's a handful of partners. So yeah, definitely open to that.
Beautiful.
Sure.
Beautiful. And at the end of our call here, I'm going to make an introduction to a few individuals that I know love the South Carolina market. If I had bigger pockets, I would definitely invest in Greenville. But as of right now, let me introduce you to people who have more money than I do, and
yeah.
would be able to definitely provide value to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Brian, I have had an amazing time with you. Thank you so much for unpacking your story, but also unpacking your trajectory. I absolutely love what you're doing. And for anybody out there that is interested in a growing, I mean, Greenville is one of the hottest markets in the country. Okay, not the state, but the country. And Brian is somebody, like, talk about boots on the ground. Brian is not only somebody who knows the market, he is invested in the market, but he literally manages the market. If you're interested in investing in Greenville, please reach out to Brian. He is literally an operator, but he also understands what it takes for an asset to perform as it should. So please reach out to Brian if you're looking to invest in Greenville. And Brian, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My management company's website is propgreenville.com. There's a contact us, little tab on there, or you could email me directly. It's bwalsh@propgreenville.com. Those are the two best ways and I'm on LinkedIn too. So
beautiful. And guys, for everybody listening, I will put Brian's information in the show notes. With that, Brian, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I know it's getting late, so I'll let you go have dinner. I know you're probably tired of me talking. Guys, it's been Tini Collin, Brian Humble Walsh, signing out.
thanks, Tinny. Appreciate it.